in the intro.
Well, it is what it is. We're going live right now. So it's actually live. We'll probably show up on my YouTube feed here in a couple seconds.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to send this over a PowerPoint. We just went live.
There we go.
Yeah, it went live. Yeah. Okay, that's not good. Come on. There we go. We're on. We are on. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to give a couple minutes here. We're just going to talk a little bit. We'll give a couple minutes for people to come in. Obviously, at the end of the day, this feed will stay live after the fact. Just want to say thanks for joining us, whether it's live or a little bit later on, early on a Saturday morning. But it's not early for Cam and I. Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for this.
It's awesome. I agree. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. This is the platform's called StreamYard. So you're watching us live through YouTube. We're actually broadcasting through a software called StreamYard, which is really dope. So it's pretty cool. That's why the PowerPoint's up on the screen. It looks a bit like a Zoom feed for you guys. We're super excited to be able to do this in conjunction with 360 Athletics and COREFX, which is all under the umbrella of one company. Anyway, the point of today is to basically test this platform because we have a huge summit coming up next week called Building Unbreakable Humans with 5 of the most amazing presenters that I could put together to create a movement-based, resilient, unbreakable seminar for you guys. So hopefully, after the seminar and giving you a little bit of a snapshot into the type of things you're going to learn next week, using both medicine balls and tubing as a device for today, you will be probably, I would say, motivated to go and sign up and register for the summer because it's going to be dope. Like $40 American for 5 presenters that are all over the world, particularly in portions of the U.S. and then the fascial research presenters actually in Germany. His name is Dr. Robert Schlepp, who I've an immense amount of admiration towards for his work for a long time in Fascial Fitness, so in alignment to my own personal philosophy. Kind of cool. Anyway, more importantly, to the seminar. So just to give you a really quick snapshot on what's important here and why we're going to do. So loaded fascial movement, I'm going to let Ken walk through these slides. He's got a couple of key points he's going to bring forward to you guys. So we have about 10 to 12 minutes of slides to get through. Then we have approximately 15 to 16 movement patterns that we're going to try and move through progressively to the best of our ability. And if we run out of time, we run out of time, but we're going to deliver as much as we can, as distinctly as possible. And then just again, the slides will be available. If anyone actually wants the PowerPoint sent to them, drop us an email in the comments on YouTube, and we'll make sure we actually send it to you. Not a problem whatsoever. So we're going to get started. I'm just going to introduce the equipment really quick. Now, again, as I said in some of my videos and stuff, it really doesn't matter what tubing you have. It could be the tubing. So I'm going to explain why we're using upper tubing, for example. So this COREFX tubing, which happens to be of a very heavy distance, so the resistance in here is pretty thick. So the thick tubing that's inside, the way normal traditional tubing works is that the handle is the resistance point and you're pulling on it. And when you get to the very end, the end of the tubing's at full stretch. When I pull the tube all the way, it's got a lot of tension, just like if it was the tendon of a joint. So for example, we'll call it your Achilles tendon. If you stretch your Achilles tendon too fast, too much load, it breaks. Similarly with the tube, by putting the cover on it, the cover actually gets the full extension where the tubing does. So the tubing never gets past 90% of its full capacity. So the reality is the tubing, although more expensive being inside the covering, lasts up to 3 times longer. So therefore, at the end of the day, it's worth the investment. And who wants to be replacing tubes or possibly having a tube whip with a client in a partner situation and having it whip back towards them? Usually with the way the resistance is loaded in partner training, someone's getting whipped. And unfortunately, I know this to be true because I've had it happen to myself multiple times and come very close to my eye wall. So that's why you use covered tubing versus non-covered tubing. This particular wall ball, there's a bunch of them on the market. They all work, just to be clear. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that 360 has like uncovered the Cardiovascular secret for wall balls. But over time and building multiple variations of this, call this like version 3 or 4. The stitching is now much more secure and reinforced. There's even some PVC paneling in order to give structure to the ball, but the ball will bounce. So whether you're using this wall ball, if it's too big and too hard to hold on to, you can use slam balls, you can use grip medicine balls. The reason why I don't tend to use the bounce balls anymore is I'm doing partner training, if I'm doing wall-based training, sometimes those things come off the wall very aggressively. So if you're working with elite level athletes or people that have great coordination, the rubber high density, high bounce, high rebound effect is totally fine. But if you're working with people that are, call them motor challenged or new to fitness and exercise and the type of patterns that we're going to work on today, it's probably a better idea to have something that isn't going to ricochet at a high velocity. Anyway, so those are some of the key concerns to keep in mind. So that being said, we're going to move on. So you're going to hear Cam cue me to move to the next slide. Now, he doesn't have to cue the first one. Obviously, you can see that our Instagram information, et cetera, is there. Cam's company is called CFTS Athletics, sorry. And he's new to his own personal business, well, new and old. He's been 7 years with Steve Nash Fitness Clubs. Recently, obviously, that organization shut down. So he's now independently working on his own and helping me out quite a bit. So I really appreciate him being here today. Cam, I'm going to let you take it over. I'm going to move to the next slide here and go for it, big guy.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. And hello, everyone. So the first concept we're going to introduce here today in the seminar is called loaded movement training. Now, this is a concept that's being worked on, developed, and integrated by one of our affiliate partners called Viper Pro. And they're kind of taking movement training, fascial training, loads, range of motion, everything like that to a whole nother level and sort of working to build a foundation to allow you guys and your clients and your participants to be able to build your bodies, to undertake all kinds of loads that you would see in day-to-day life and sport, right? So essentially the goal behind it is to build a resilient, unbreakable human, right? Now, what all of this means is we're going to kind of break the mold and get away from traditional gym-style workouts where, for example, you're going to go in, sit on a machine, do a shoulder press, or you sit on your lat, pull down, pull a bar straight down. You're going to work in just the sagittal plane where you're going forward, backward, up, down. Now we're going to integrate movements with the tools like the COREFX Medicine Ball and the tubing, and we're going to go through different multi-plane, multi-directional movements where we're getting rotation, we're getting lateral movement, and all this that's going to help us in day-to-day life. So to give you a really quick example, think like, you go grocery shopping, you come home, and you want to take the groceries out of your car, right? There's not many of you out there that are going to open the door to your car, set up in a perfect squat position, sit down, nice braced, grab the groceries, pull them in, stand up, turn, and walk like a robot, right? We're going to be grabbing groceries, we're going to be leaning in, shifting, grabbing them off the seat. Maybe you got a child under an arm. You got to do one of these with your knee to close the door, right? All of that's going to challenge your nervous system through, balance, coordination, firing all kinds of different muscles that you get from traditional gym workouts. So that's where loaded movement and odd position strength comes into play, where we can throw our center of gravity off. We can do we can work with different speeds. We can work with different range of motions. And again, just all working towards building a resilient and unbreakable body. Chad, on to you for the next part for Fascial Fitness.
Awesome. So here's an interesting quick backstory on this. I met Dr. Robert Schlepp, who is the author of the book that's up in the left-hand corner here, called Fascial Fitness, at a seminar entitled Fascial Fitness. I was actually on a blind date with a massage therapist at the Queen E Theater downtown Vancouver. I had no idea what I was going to get into. I was just there to be with the person and be part of a fun night. And as it turns out, the type of work I had been doing with, call it ballistic loading, things that we've considered counterindicated now for a number of years, was being presented right in front of my eyes in a way that also had scientific research and support attached to it. So my understanding of the fascial lines and loaded movement training and all these different things come out of a foundation of work that I've taken through various influences over the course of my career that are important. But also then were solidified by meeting Dr. Schlepp. So the major concept here is basically fascial fitness, and this I stole right from the book title, How to Be Vital, Elastic, which means elastic rebound or recoil call it the kangaroo effect, call it the catapult effect. I sometimes refer to it as the inner ninja. That's going to allow you to perform everyday activities like sport and fitness. So the point is the movement patterns, as you can see from the pictures, are meant to be rhythmic and have flow to them. So anything that has load, like some of the patterns that are involved, could be body weight, could be external load, like we're talking about with the loaded movement training, could also be flow yoga. So at the basic foundations, there's some basic movement pattern, like you can see Pam doing up in the top pictures, that are designed to create integration and isolation to free tissue to have that freedom of glide. So fascial glide is a whole portion of this fascial fitness component that's outside the scope of today's lecture. We're going to be using loaded movement training and rhythmic motion with body weight in order to be able to show you these concepts. But understand the foundation for this often requires some forms of self-myofascial relief, deep tissue massage, rolfing if you can get your hands on it. So that's sort of the major concept behind fascial fitness. Back to Cam over, and we're going to talk about specificity and progressive overload.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. So going on to specificity and progressive overload. Now, the concepts we have of loaded movement training and fascial fitness are amazing on their own. Now we're going to take it one step further and integrate those into programming using the said principle for specificity, so specific adaptation to impose demand, right? Which essentially means we're going to train our bodies for what we want to achieve or what we want to get better at, right? So if we're talking day-to-day activities, right, using the concept of loaded moving training and odd position strength, right, like the example of taking groceries out of a car, right, we're going to train our bodies to do that using these tools that allow us to get greater ranges of motion, free ranges of motion under load, right? Now that we've got that covered, right, we're also going to get into progressive overload and talk a little bit about how we're going to change range of motion, how we're going to change load, lever lengths, volume, velocity, capacity, everything like that to further progress these movements, right? Keep building that resilient and unbreakable body, make it even stronger, build on our agility, build on our strength, right? To keep challenging our body's capabilities through everything that it should be able to do. Back to you, Chad.
Totally. So just to solidify that concept a little bit, one of the things that's really important about loaded movement training and this kind of fascial fitness is that it has to be very multi-directional. It has to cause reactive variability in movement patterns. So we want our body to react in uncomfortable circumstances, but in a very progressive way. So meaning that we have to be able to walk that one standard deviation away from what our body is capable of doing right now, not three standard. We cause too much program variability. We increase range of motion too fast, or load it too fast, or lever length too far away from the body that our body's not capable of stabilizing and mobilizing in. Therefore, we're going to put ourselves at risk of injury. So again, programming is important. So that's why we're moving into this next slide. So with the programming part, what we're going to talk about today, and again, without getting too deep on this, concepts are being covered off here all day. Obviously, we'll talk more as we're going. Is we're going to talk about how do we activate the nervous system? How do we create fascial glide? That again, that's not going to be covered today, but movement creates fascial glide. It's the movement of the myofascia relative to the myofibers. That's a portion of my talk on the summit next week too, talking about how to train both the myofascia and the myofibers simultaneously to create a integrated training design that's going to create resiliency. So we're going to move from activation into athleticism. So there's general athleticism for the general public and for the aging adult in order to be able to prevent pain. There's athleticism for youth athletes that are trying to build their bodies up, be able to create those foundations for power and strength. Then we're also going to integrate some power, which is more the athletic model. Finally, we're going to look at functional strength, so movement in multiple directions, program with a lot of different movement variability, this concept of strength. In terms of creating block design, so there's lots of different ways to actually create the training programs. So if you think about it, don't turn your brain off. We all have backgrounds in personal training. We all have backgrounds in fitness. We've all trained ourselves a lot of times, but we are presenting a concept and design. So either integrate, which is supersetting an exercise after the other with predetermined rest intervals that are relatively short, or you can do it where you're actually using what's called a horizontal design, where you do all of the same exercise for 3 sets before moving on to. So the reality is, take time. Block designs work really well. So using a superset type design, but also applying the sport science behind it. I don't tend to do SAQ by itself, adult recreational clients, or power training by itself. I usually integrate it with the form of a complex with strength, which is one of the things listed in the third point. But if I was training elite level athletes, for example, I may do speed and agility as the second portion of after my dynamic warm-up. SAQ and power training may happen first in its own block, followed by functional strength in its own block. So therefore, you might have 4 or 5 exercises designed in a way that is intelligent to allow you to move efficiently, moving, say, from a battle rope as fast as you possibly can to a ladder drill, moving as quickly as possible. Again, that allows us to block the information together in the block called SAQ before moving to the block called functional strength, right, or that portion of the training program. A more fitness-based approach and a more cardiovascular fitness integration approach on National Health and Fitness Day, by the way, would be to take functional strength with as your first 2 exercises, say, for example, a push and a pull, and then follow it up with an SAQ drill. So you've got 2 upper dominant functional strength exercises, followed by a lower dominant SAQ drill. Vice versa, if I was doing something like, say, jump squat, a kettlebell swing, I may then load in with a battle rope, something that's a little bit more upper body dominant SAQ. So you can see there's lots of different ways to put it together. It's essential to understand what your goals are. Your goals, as Cam previously talked about, will dictate how you train these blocks together. But there's lots of different options here. Science supporting big proportions of this. The reality is, the best training program in the world, one you're doing. It's the one you will do repeatedly, and therefore you're going to get general success from it. So I'd rather see some 50% of the success, scientifically speaking, by doing it regularly than worrying about getting 100% outputs and outcomes. So next slide. So on that note, we're going to move right into the actual application today. So grab your water, make sure it's close. We are going to do, I would say, lengthy demonstrations, not too lengthy, obviously, because we need to move through this relatively efficiently. But we're going to move from activation into power, into functional strength, and we're going to start you off. Cam's going to take back over here. So I'm going to call it the exercise so Cam doesn't have to look at his screen too much.
Yep.
Very first exercise on this list is actually called a tubing 3-point bird dog. Now I'm going to switch screens, so give me a sec here. So you can actually see more Cam.
Yep.
All right. Hopefully. Stop sharing. So actually, yep. Stopping to share. You got a lot more Cam now.
Oh.
There you go. All right, Cam. It's all you, bud.
All right, thank you, Chad. So first movement we're going to do in the activation sequence is a 3-point banded bird dog. So I've got my COREFX tube here. I've got it hooked around the back of one of my feet. One end comes up through my legs. The other comes to the outside. And we're going to get into a kneeling quadruped position. So my hands are going to be holding the handles down. Okay, I'm going to stack my shoulders over my wrist. My back's going to be nice and straight. So chin tucked, eyes looking down so that I get a nice straight line in my cervical vertebrae. I'm going to push or pull my ribs towards my hips so I get a nice straight back. Activate upper back and lats by pulling my shoulders down towards the hips. And then from here, we're going to work through 3 different progressions of this movement. So the first progression on this is with the band around my foot, I'm going to step straight back and into here. Okay, this is going to fire up the glutes. This is going to fire up posterior chain. And as I'm keeping my wrists pulled in, I'm going to get full core activation right through the body. Okay, the second progression for this is we're going to add a lift. Okay, so now we're going to get that step back, and then we're going to segment it into a straight leg raise. Now, when we do the raise, we want to watch for any kind of overarching in the back. So you got to keep those ribs pulled down your hips, keep the body nice. Okay. The third progression, again, we're going to start with our step back. We're going to lift the leg up, slightly turn the foot out, and then we're going to abduct to the side, bring it back in, step down, and come in. Okay. So to go through that again, right? Nice setup, hands on the ground, holding the handles in place. Okay, chin tucked, eyes forward, head up so we get a nice spinal alignment. Shoulders pulled to hips to engage the lats. Ribs pulled to hips to engage the abs. Squeeze your glutes as hard as you can. First progression, step straight back. Second progression, add the lift. Third progression, add abduction. And bring it back in from there. There's our first one. All right, already getting a little sweat going. Now, the second move we got is a pullover with a leg raise. Now, Chad loves to make me demonstrate this one because he knows how terrible my hamstring flexibility is. So I'm sure he'll get a little bit of a laugh out of this. So on this one, what we're going to do, we're going to lie down, start almost like a dead bug position. Okay. So lying down, same bracing pattern that we had with the 3-point bird dog. So our chin's going to be tucked. Eyes are going to look straight up. We're going to brace through the lats and shoulders by pulling the shoulders towards your hips. Okay. Ribs are going to be stacked into the pelvis to get the abs engaged. Squeeze your bum as hard as you can. One leg is going to be straight down, actively pushing into the ground. Our other leg is going to come up, knee towards the arm. Try to create tension between that knee and arm point. Okay, as our first progression. Second progression, we're going to come from straight leg, pull the knee in, and try to straighten that leg as hard as you can, and then come back down. Okay, so relax in between if you need to. Reset, get fully braced, actively drive one leg, your straight leg into the ground. From there, drive the knee into the arm and kick as high up to the sky as you can. And come back down. Okay. Our third movement was what, Chad?
The third movement? I can't. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm going to move to the screen here. You got a tubing pull-off rotation.
Oh, right.
Okay. Kneel, big guy. By the way, your hamstring flexibility is terrible.
I know. I do know that. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm getting poured on out here, by the way, but I'm cool with it. It's keeping me nice.
Hey, it's not raining in White Rock.
Oh no, it's pouring out here. So, but I'm set up, so I'm good. All right. Kneeling pull-off rotation with a press. Okay. From here, I'm going to start in a split kneeling position. Okay. Same bracing pattern as everything else. Universal bracing pattern. So eyes forward, chin tucked, head pulled back, shoulders towards the hips to engage the lats, ribs pulled to hips to engage the abs, glutes fired. Okay. We want to keep neutral position on the hips. So we don't want any shift, any turn, any rotation. They got to be nice and straight. Okay. We're going to start with our band out to the side. I'll give you a little fun fact after we go through this movement on this one. So with the band out to the side, we're going to pull it right across into the body, and then we're going to push straight out here. Hold for half a second, come back in, rotate out to the side. Okay. Again, nice brace, rotate through, drive this elbow back in, right? Finish with the band in front of your chest, push straight out, pull back in, come out. Now, a little fun fact on this movement, right? If we play off the sensory receptors in the hands, we can actually change the fascial sling and the line of muscles that are working predominantly in this movement. So if you're holding the hand, holding primarily with the hand that's farthest away from the anchor point, okay, the sensory receptors in your hand are going to fire lat to the glute, your back line a little bit more. Now, if you switch that and hold primarily with the inside hand, your body's going to recognize that and pull through the front line a little bit more, right? So if you want more back line, hold with the outside hand. If you want a little bit more front line, hold with the inside hand and go through that movement. Okay. Now back to you, Chad, for a couple medicine ball movements. And then I can get under cover here. Oh.
I did a little variation, guys, where you saw that your legs couldn't come off the ground. So if you want to increase the intensity, you can just elevate that back knee off the ground. So the first one with the wall ball, going to be called a half move or a half kneeling handle. So a couple setup points. Want that back toe engaged pushed into the ground as opposed to plantar flex. You want dorsal flex, pushing your big toe into the ground, which helps activate that back glute. Okay, so that helps turn that booty on. Next thing is keep the shoulders in a strong position and not have the head move around the ball, but have the ball move around the head. So you do need decent shoulder mobility for this, but it's great internal and external rotation pattern. So I'm going to just take it, find that upright position, called the 1990 position, and I'm going to halo the ball around my head, like so. You can add progressions by dropping it down to the hip and reversing directions, or you can just continue to halo one side versus the other, but keep punching that glute. That glute's got to be punched the whole time. You want to maintain the position in a strong way. And lean forward to get a little bit more of a hip extension pattern out of it. So point is back to on the ground, glute activation, tall position to get that hip extension. If you're here, you're going to leave your hip flexed, which is going to integrate into your thorax. A great seminar by Diane Lee a few weeks ago, talking about how the pelvis can drive the thorax and how the thorax can drive the pelvis. So in this case, we want to make sure we're getting great thoracic movement, shoulder mobility, scapular mobility around a stable pelvis, okay? So, or vice versa. So you just want to make sure you're sort of integrated into that. Now, on that stable pelvis point, we're going to do what's called a stepping plank into a sumo squat. Now, you'll notice that when you're in the preparation phase, these aren't random movements. These are movements that are going to set us up for success in the athletic phase. So plank position, hands on ball, just on the top edge. Now you can use dumbbells, kettlebells work really well for this as well. You need to straddle the ball. Now, why I like this ball, it's a little higher off the ground, so I don't have to get quite as low just yet. I can get to walk the shoulder down, feet, middle of my foot, same time with the middle of the ball, pressure through the hands, ribs tucked towards the pelvis, drop the shoulders away from the ears, keep the head long, step back long with the other leg. Really intentionally long, punching the knees straight, punching the glutes into a forced activation, step back in. Now keep your hips low as you step back with the second foot. Watch, step, long. When I come in, I'm not propping up, get back in. Stay low and stay into that profile of length. Find the length first, step through. Once you're good, keep pointing your head or similarly angled out slightly. Stand up strong. The next progression on this would be to step it. Keep your shoulders tight. Stand up. Reach up overhead. Squeeze your shoulder blades. Squeeze the glutes. Focus on the shoulders. So don't arch your back. Step. And then as you get more fluid, stable, this becomes more dynamic. Those are our 5 prep exercises to set us up for the athletic phase. So the next phase obviously is going to be a little bit. So when you move to the next step, make sure your body's prepared. Make sure you feel mobile. Make sure you feel loose. If you need to add additional dynamic warm-ups in, if you have your own movement patterns, make sure you're specific. Specificity principle. Things you do in the warm-up, designed to set you up for what you're going to do in power. Otherwise, possibly could strain tissue that hasn't been prepared yet. Back to you, Cameron.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. So yeah, playing off of Chad's last point, the warm-up, the progressions, or the preparation, the warm-up, super, super, super important. Never neglect that. Always take your time. Always make sure your body's fully warmed up, fully prepared. That's really going to help you prevent any kind of injuries, any kind of complications down the line as you move through progressions in exercises. So the first one we're going to do in the power athleticism phase is a loaded or band loaded front squat. So I've got my band anchor down low. I'm going to hold the tubing in front of me, the handle nice in front, like I'm loading up for a barbell front squat or a goblet squat. Okay, my eyes are going to be forward, chin tucked, head back. Want nice alignment, right from head to toe. My feet are going to start about shoulder width apart. Okay, toes pointed forward. Now, one key on this, a big key on this, is we want pressure into the heel. We want pressure into the midfoot, and we want to drive our big toes into the ground so we can optimize our posterior chain activation right up to the glutes. Okay, so I've got my eyes forward, chin tucked, head back. My shoulders are going to be backing down, engage the lats. My ribs are going to pull into my pelvis to get the abs firing. Okay, from here, I'm going to sit straight back, right down until I can get my knees and drive back up. Okay, I can't quite get down to that range, right? That's cool. Work within the range you have, right, where you can maintain proper body position. So if you find that you get down a little bit and you start falling forward or the hips start tucking you under, right, don't go past that point. Work with where you can, right? If you can manage to get all the way down, even better. The benefit of having the tube in front of you like this is it kind of counteracts or counterbalances, right? So it allows you to stay a little bit more upright. Makes it a little bit easier. On the second one, Now we're getting a little bit more dynamic. We've got a cycling split jump with a one-arm chest press. So from here, I'm going to be standing facing away from the anchor point. I'm going to drop down low, okay? I want sort of a close split stance. As I come up, I'm going to explode up from here, switching my feet, and at the same time, I'm going to drive the band out in front of me, okay? So I'm going to come down, first phase, set up. I'm going to jump up, drive the band out, and then I'll take my time, get right back in position, build up power coming up. Once you feel comfortable with that, then we can jump. We can get that jump right back down into our setup position, popping from here. Okay. The last movement with the tubing in this sequence is a wrapping one-arm pull. So we've got a little bit more rotation coming into the play here. Okay, so our setup, we've got a very shallow split stance here. We're going to get a little bit of a hinge going. Eyes are going to be in line. Okay, back nice and straight, ribs to hips, engage the abs. Band's going to be out in front of you. Okay, from here, we're going to load. We're going to rotate the torso. We're going to pull the band in across the body and drive it right across, right? Now with this, we want, as we're loading, we're pushing off of that front leg, driving, turning, and using that glute to fire and turn the hips right as we're actively pulling, just like we did in that pal-off rotation, actively pulling the band across. So starting nice low, hinge, straight back, in, and pull. Boom. All right, back to you, Chad.
All right. And I don't know if you're seeing what I'm doing, but I'm actually showing either a progression or regression of the exercise in the other screen. So,
gotcha. I wasn't watching that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so the next one, again, remember we warmed up the sumo squat as part of the movement prep. So what we're going to do now is called a jump squat. So again, at the end of the day, you could also just do an explosive squat, but you're going to grab that ball or your kettlebell, whatever device you're using. You're going to give it a good squeeze. You're going to load through the middle of your foot. It's called the tripod. Make sure both feet are pointing ahead in a similar way. You're going to get your chest lifted, and you're going to explode. Inhale, push, explode the hip, boom. And then you can reset every time if you like, or they can become continuous. So you can do a variation. So set, that's up, wait in the middle, explode. Explode. The point of power is to take between reps. Now, if we're doing fitness, it may look like this. Or progression, for that matter. We're actually trying to minimize ground contact time, extending the hips, pointing the toes towards the ground aggressively. Get that pull off. Okay. Hands doing a rotational version, which is cool too. Okay, so that's one. So going back to the slams, you can half kneeling, but a couple of these have to come up. So basic slam you've all seen before. I'm going to actually switch balls right now. So moving on to the action. So this is a 20-pound ball. Again, you need to be warmed up for this. They have everything from 10 up to 5, actually maybe 40. So this goes over your head, straight up. Now you notice this is that fitness pad. You'll see one of the pictures in the slide, Fascial Fitness. We actually open up, squeeze the glutes, which spring load your body. So open up, fire to the ground. Open up. So to protect your back, you squeeze your glutes and you drop your shoulders and open up through the chest. You want to make it a little bit more rhythmic. In and out. For more fitness purposes, we'll just be in and out of the pattern. Okay? So that's one. It's a half halo slam. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to matrix your shoulders a little bit. So you spin your shoulders backwards, open up, and then it comes around your head, and then you slam down the middle. Inhale. Exhale. You go both sides. So wind it up slow, and then you can wind it up. Okay? Driving to the ground with full exhalation, full frontal loading. So spring it up, fire it down. Last and not least, well, halo slam. Now, I'm going to go back because I want the ball to bounce back up a little bit. So it's around the world action like this, followed by a turn slam. So Again, one at a time for power. Resetting slowly through the pattern. Firing aggressively. Repeat it for athleticism. Repeat it for athletic prowess. Last but not least, what we got here?
Lateral throw.
All throws, okay. So again, just for grip purposes, there's two options here. You probably can't see the wall, but it's right on my, just to my right over here. So there's two ways to do this. So this is going to be a lateral load and explode action. So I'm going to use the smaller ball again because it's a little easier to hold on to. It has a slightly texture. So lateral load, chest up, fire to the other side without losing balance, and then aggressively stop. Shift over. You tighten your abs. There's more bracing pattern. You really want to get maximum benefit out of it. That trigger now goes, you're releasing power through the last 30 degrees of range of motion, because this does range of motion requirement. Load, fire, load. Get that good weight transfer. You can even pivot off that back leg, get full extension up to the knee, ankle, and hips. We're on the functional strength. So again, this would be non-integrated horizontal loading. Here's your preparation phase. Here's your power phase. Here's your frontal strength phase. How you mix these together comes down to your programming, your sports science, and your personal preference and goal setting for your clients. Functional strength, Cam, you're up, big guy.
Yes, sir. What do we got first? Thank you, Chad. We have tube and curtsy squat. All right. Now we're getting a little lateral work in. So
the old curtsy squat.
The old curtsy squat. So set up on this one. Okay, we're gonna start in a core neutral position. So feet straight forward, about hip width, shoulder width apart, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, eyes forward, chin tucked, ribs to hips, engage the abs, glutes fired. Okay, from here, arm is gonna be straight across the body. Okay, our first progression on this, or our first, which way am I going? This way. It's weird, I'm mirrored on my screen. Okay, so first step of this, we're gonna come down into the curtsy squat, drive off that leg to come out, okay? Keep the arm straight, just coming across, one nice movement, right? As you get used to that, as you get comfortable with that, add a little bit more drive and come right out to the side with your body. See how far you go. Boom, right out, okay? Now, as a third progression, right, kind of like what we were doing with the turning pull and the power-off rotation, you can come in here, pull right across with the band. Reset, pull right across. If you want to get more of a hit style going, right? No pauses in between to reload. Just pop over, come back in. Pop over, come back in. Boom. And then you can even jump into it almost like a power skate pattern if you want to progress even more. All right? I'm a little out of breath. Second, we got squat. With a rotational press. All right, Chad's got this one. This is a Chad special.
Well, I'm actually not set up for it properly, so
all right,
Cam, go to your next one. I'll come back to
this. Go with the medicine ball. All right, so next one. Again, playing off of that lateral movement. Okay. Now we're gonna grab the COREFX Medicine Ball, slam ball, ball, whichever one you have, and we're doing a lunge with a contralateral reach. This is one of my favorite movements lately. So again, we're gonna set up in a core neutral position. Okay, ball pulled in nice and tight. We're going to side step over, get a nice hinge going, just like we're setting up for a side lunge. And at the same time we're doing this, we're reaching towards, along that straight leg towards our foot with the ball. Okay, so again, setting up from core neutral position. I should probably go this way. Okay, coming straight, this way more. Coming straight out to the side, reaching down and in. Make sure that back stays nice and straight. Rotating through the torso as you reach down. Come back to the middle, get low, reach down, okay? The last one I got on this docket for the first functional strength loaded movement training, a lateral pickup, a squat, lateral pickup. Lateral pickup with 1 foot squat. All right, a little hard for me to see the screen, okay? So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna start with the ball beside me, okay? Little bit of a staggered stance, okay? So the foot that's closest to the ball is going to start back a little bit. Okay. From here, I'm going to squat down. We get into a split squat stance. Grab the ball, rotate, grab the ball. I'm going to pull the ball, rotate, turn the ball, pull the ball into my knee. So you guys can see it from the side here. Grab the ball, pull it into my knee, create tension, right? So there's no gap, create high tension. Bring that leg off the ground. Okay, so now I'm having to brace through my heel, midfoot, big toe on the grounded foot. And then I'm going to punch that glute and drive straight up while I'm bringing this knee up. Okay, so again, starting from low split position, grab the ball in front, drive the knee in, and stand up tall. Keep the balance, actively bring that knee up as high as you can, and punch that back glute nice and hard. Do this right, that booty should be on fire. All right, on to you, Chad.
Woo! Love that exercise.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The lateral squat with the reach, I'm going to show from the front, but then I'm actually going to do most of the reps from behind. So you're going to have to enjoy the posterior view. Sorry. Okay. So it's a wide stance, builds off the lateral we're working on. The key ingredient here is not to have too much separation of the elbow from the tube, because if the tubing and elbow have separation, it causes the spring back. So you want the tube in relative, the more distance, the more instability requirement. Okay. So it can be beneficial, but you need to be ready for it. So the line of drive is going to be down and across my body with an inhale on the loading the back leg, pushing through the back leg, driving forward, down towards the shin, and then my head looks straight down initially. So it's going to be thoracic rotation without vertical rotation. Inhale, exhale, like so. That hand's reaching up, and the wrist is even bending backwards to get full extension to the group in the elbow. Okay, so it's really important to realize that wrist extension is part of this program, particularly with a lot of this stuff going on these days. Keyboard typing type work with cell phones and texting. This extension of the wrist is really important. So here, now we're going to do a little more dynamic. It's going to be inhale, exhale, drive, and I'm going to use my head as a cheat mechanism. A couple shifts sometimes. Inhale, drive, and I'm driving as far across my body as I can without getting a spring back or loss of air connection. The back leg should straighten. Choose a range of motion where the back leg can fully straighten. Can pivot if you need to. Okay, but it's just meant to be flat foot, both feet pointing straight ahead. Have more repetitions. Inside, outside, push. Breathe it through nice and strong. Okay, so that's the lateral run. What I love to do when I'm doing functional training is create weird loads in different angles, different directions, different heights, different distance away from the shin, for example, to create different tissue challenges. I love integrating mobility and strength at the same time, particularly my early block of strength training, because it really sets me up for success for both. So this could be a preparation movement. You'll notice a lot of these movements could easily been in a prep phase. So it really depends on what level of advancement that you're at. How you put them. So, Ken, what do I have next here?
Step back shovel.
Okay. All right. So step back shovel. You could use either one of these things. I'm going to use the ball again, just a little easier for me to hold on to. So what I'm going to do, now this again gets into functional line categorization. So I'm going to step back. I'm going to throw the ball over my step back left, throw the ball over my right shoulder. So it's like a shoveling action. So hip, boom, and throwing dirt with a shovel, okay? So in this action, though, what I want to do is get glute activation to protect my upper back, to also create that functional line integration. So I'm going to step back with the left as I shovel right. So inhale, exhale. And I'm squeezing into hip extension without, so that hip extension and shoulder activation should stop me from arching my back excessively. If you are excessively arching in the back, you need more work on the anterior chain, more flexibility through the hip flexor complex. So there's TFL, rectus femoris, psoas, in order to be able to get proper step and firing pattern. Inhale, exhale. Practice the shoulders down. Have a distinct release point. It's not meant for speed. It's long and strong. So both my head and eyes are following the ball. So I usually track with the eyes and let the head finish off. So you can use both eye and head tracking. So that takes us through all the movement program, all the different exercises. Did so in very timely fashion. So that being said, what we do is have time for is to walk through a couple of these things from a programming perspective, how you might pull all this together for us. So if we were talking about sets and reps, Cam, so if you're thinking sets and reps for power, so let's go back to preparation. So if you're thinking sets and reps, for example, on the 3-point dead bug, like what's a common number of sets and reps you would do in the preparation phase?
So when it comes to prep activation, right, as I'm programming this in, obviously a key point is making sure everything is moving properly, working properly, getting ready for the next phases like the power athleticism and the loaded movement training, right? Typically, I want to stay with a mid rep range on these ones, right? Anywhere from 6 to 10 reps, right? We don't want to be tiring the body out. We want to focus on proper body positioning, get a feel, like learn what that feels like, right? If we spend way too much time in those positions, holding them, right, the body's going to tire out too much. So we just want to get a nice, good feel for, what proper body position feels like, what proper alignment feels like, what proper activation feels like. So yeah, I would normally set for like the 3-point bird dog, I'd say about six reps per side, working through those progressions over maybe 1 to 2 sets, or 6 reps per side, 1 to 2 sets.
And you may be frozen, but we can hear you perfectly, so it's all good.
I wasn't moving much. Am I moving now?
No, it doesn't really matter. It's okay. So on that same note, so I'm just going to continue down that path. So that's great information, Cam, by the way. So with power and athleticism, for example, so in today's fitness world, if the goal is fitness, you can progress. This could be one of the progressions would be the volume of exercise, and you can also progress the degree of rest that you have between exercises, okay? So for example, if you were to do tubing front squat, followed by the tubing cycling split chest press, followed by the tubing wrap pull, you'll notice one thing in common. The legs they're integrated, but the leg or the hips, hip and knee were dominant in the first exercise. The second exercise, although the legs are involved depending on the depth of range of motion, the primary movement pattern is the push. Although it's an integrated movement pattern, the primary load pattern could be the push by staying up a little bit higher. And then in the third exercise, you're quite tall and you're using a very, very easy leg loading pattern with a pull, with rotation. So what we're doing is we're integrating different planes of motion and different joints. The one joint's getting rest while the other joint's working. So here's my personal preference in programming. So rather than programming high repetition, so it's very common in the fitness to build muscle endurance or booty endurance or isolation, and like doing 15 to 50 repetitions of things, right? So typically speaking, to save your joints, because most joints aren't properly aligned, most joints lack real, true, proper dynamic to prevent long-term wear and tear, this thing we call decay. It's essential that we take 3 movement patterns that our bodies are prepared to do well with reasonable stability, keep the repetition volume relatively low. So for example, on the front squat, I may do 8 to 12 repetitions, followed by 6 to 8 repetitions of the cycling split press per side with very short rest, and then again into the tubing wrap one-arm pull. For the reason being is that we're using different joint muscular actions in different portions of the body continuously, so therefore we have what's called a central heart rate elevation. Heart rate is elevated, we have great circulation and nourishment going on through the muscles without causing massive ability requirements in the peripheral tissues. Now, if your goal is typically improve muscle endurance in your quadriceps because you have to go out and endure a 45-second shift in hockey, or you're for a 2-kilometer hill climb, then that's where the higher repetition isolation protocols specifically is aligned to the specificity principle. Then you have to hit that. So generally, keep the repetitions relatively low, block the exercise together in a push, pull, lower body fashion, or push and pull from lower body and then followed by some kind of upper body action. For example, that's a great way to put 3 exercises together. You can also build in a power exercise for the push, a power exercise for the pull, and then go to a recovery or rehab or improved posture I call prepare to perform exercises. So a lot of different ways to integrate these things, but the key ingredient here would be to keep the volume low, remove the decay and joint wear and tear, specifically knowing that most of us do not have amazing, that we don't have the kind of dynamic postural control that you really should have. So safety first, move well before you move well before you move off. That's straight from the FMS, the functional movement screen system. So Cam, I'll let you take on the functional. We'll finish off there, and then we'll just finish up with the seminar next week.
All right, thank you, Chad. So yeah, a little bit playing off of Chad's point when he's talking about specificity and the SAID principle and integrating that with these kind of movements, right? The whole basis behind this, kind of like we covered a little bit earlier in the seminar, is preparing the body and building the foundation for everything that it's going to be challenged with in day-to-day activity or your sport, right? So that's what loaded movement training is. That's what opposition strength is. That's what the SAID principle is. That's what progressive overload is, right? Don't work at volumes where you're going to, like Chad said, wear your body down to the point where you're not going to be able to do the movements properly and effectively, right? Train for what you need to train for, develop the body, right? Or use these movements to your advantage to efficiently develop the body without wearing it down, right? So that it's prepped, so that it's ready for day-to-day life, so that it's ready for whatever activities it needs to go under, okay? One little point on the, I guess that was my loaded movement training speech. Functional strength, again, if we're talking rep range, set range, just like power athleticism, just like the prep phase, right? We don't need to overload with huge amounts of volume, right? Make sure that the movements are perfect, right? Make sure that the activation is perfect, all the right muscles are working, all the right joints are moving properly, everything feels good, there's no pain going on, right? And then, then build the volume up from there. As if you want to go for higher reps, make sure you got your foundations and then build from there. All right, back to you, Chad. We're going to talk a little bit about upcoming seminar. And yeah, so turn back over to you, Chad.
I just brought the programming slide back up. I probably should have done that a couple minutes ago. So as you can see, again, I'm just going to go back on power for a split second. So if you're training power for athletic, this concept is called the creatine phosphate pathway. It's important to realize that we have anaerobic pathways and we have aerobic pathways. So if we're training anaerobic power, okay, it's different than training anaerobic threshold or anaerobic this or that. So the point is, if we're doing power and we're looking at the creatine phosphate pathway, we have maybe 6 to 10 seconds worth of work before we're going to actually start to have decay in that energy system. So if we're talking pure fast twitch muscle fiber activation, high utilization of the creatine phosphate pathway with a high-powered, quick energy resource for the body, we need to keep the repetitions low. If we're building muscle endurance, that's a different pathway. That's for anaerobic endurance and power. So we're going to start moving more further along the pathway of creating metabolic or glycolytic fatigue. So we're going to start using different energy resources, particularly through glycogen pathways with some small contribution through various forms of protein breakdown. Right? So the reality of the situation and fat burning is very limited in this particular, no matter what type of diet you're on, fat burning is very limited when we're in high intensity anaerobic power type training, where the duration of the activity is from 15 to 45 seconds. So again, that's what your goals are. Make sure you do it appropriately. So finishing off this seminar today. Moving on here, hopefully. Because I got a screen up here that's in the way. There we go. Hopefully. Come on. No, yeah, doesn't want to do it.
Come on. Come on.
Not doing it, so we're going to just do it this way.
Oh.
There we go.
Stop learning here, kind of.
Yeah, I got it.
Good.
Okay, so last but not least. So again, so the reason why we did today, honestly, well, A, it's National Health and Fitness Day. B, I was really making sure this platform worked. Obviously, we want to try and work through some of the glitches and some of the issues that might exist. It looks like we're pretty clean. We'd love your feedback. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the reason why I challenge myself to learn and integrate and pivot to this online platform, this online world, is to bring together an amazing opportunity with 5 of my favorite colleagues and friends that I've spent time with or learned from over the course of my career. And I'm so happy to bring them all together. Literally one email, one correspondence. Everybody jumped on board. We had a group of individuals together like class at their specific tasks that we put together for this. This is a movement-based seminar on building Unbreakable humans, starting off with fascial research and application of that fascial research into movement called Fascial Fitness and various other concepts come along with from one of the preeminent researchers in the area of fascia in the world out of Germany is Dr. Robert Schleep. I hope I didn't brutalize your name to that, doctor. I'm sorry if I did. I say Schlepp, but I don't think that's actually true. We also have my good friend Kevin Hendry, who is one of the director of education for Rad Roller Education Team, who has traveled all over the world to give information on his specific movement program on fascial freedom and mobility. He does great work when we're talking active range differences, and he has this thing called Nimble 9 that you don't want to miss out on in terms of creating better movement after doing a series of myofascial release using the RAD tool. So it's amazing, great information. This guy's a genius. He just graduated, is now a practitioner with his diploma in osteopathic. So osteopathic. Super excited to have him on board. Next up is myself. I'm going to be doing a really cool breakdown of loaded movement training, but how we integrate myofibril breakdown and activation, so integration of the myofibril system, so the muscular system, that the portion of the tractile elements of the body, integrated with the elastic properties of the body, or the serial and parallel elastic components of the body, better known as our fascial system. So I've actually put together my own system of movement that integrates these things into complexes. I'm going to build out the science, but as well show you exactly how I do this when I'm training clients, both athletic and in adult recreational populations. So it's going to be really cool. Moving in on to Michelle, who's honestly a world-class biomechanist, a world-class sport application scientist to no end. He has if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that I've reposted, and my Instagram page, I've reposted some of the interview he just did with Yanni, who's been helping me organize this entire event. Absolutely amazing. Listen to this guy. The amount of intelligence that oozes out of his body when it comes to movement and energy systems and sports science and the manipulation of the body, absolutely amazing. So you don't want to, honestly, I can't even begin to tell you. And then my good friend Dan, previously of Under Armour, currently of Goodway Fitness, now the director of education, I think for group fitness and to some degree personal training. Brand new opportunity. Both Kevin and Dan, by the way, are about to become dads in the next little while. Both have babies on the way in the next little bit, so I'm super happy to support those guys and be able to, give them this opportunity. Time has been challenging for the entire industry. So again, trust me when I tell you this. I kid you not. Myself alone, I've put a better part of 15 to 20 hours into my building presentation. I've seen a portion of Dr. Sleep's presentation as part of a fascial research conference that I attended 2 weeks ago. And all these other gentlemen I've seen multiple times, and I will tell you, you're in for a treat. Do not miss this for $40 US. We're absolutely gifting you an opportunity to learn at a level that is going a light bulb learning moment. You don't get too many light bulb learning moments, and I will promise you when I say this, every person on this panel has created a light bulb moment for me in the last few years, even personally. So all game changers. What you're about to see probably will change the way you think about movement, probably will change the way that you do your own programming and the way you work with clients on a personal level, on a professional level. The ROI, the return on investment here, is a no-brainer. Do it. You have an opportunity to watch it after the fact. It's similar to this platform. I've limited and restricted visibility of it, so therefore you have to pay for it. It is a paid program versus this one, which was open, but the platform gives you that opportunity. But anyway, I'm super excited about this. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am that all these people have stepped up to the plate to bring this together, and it's going to be amazing. So last but not least, I'm going to let Cam take over really quick because we've got a couple sponsors here that we want to thank, and we want to make sure that you guys can take an opportunity to use some of the equipment that we're using as part of the seminar.
Yeah, number one, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully this information that we were able to give you guys helps you guys grow your own personal growth, grow, with your clients, grow with your participants, grow with friends, family, everything like that. Number two, I want to thank 360 Athletics and COREFX affiliates and sponsors of this seminar that we did. If you guys are looking to get a hold of COREFX Medicine Balls, gear, the resistance tubing, or any other kind of fitness gear that you can use at home, take with you on the road, whatever. If you guys head over to 360athletics.com and you build up your shopping cart, you can throw in the promo code MOVEBETTER, all one word, for a 15% discount on your equipment. And then on the same side, I also want to thank BioSteel, who helped put this together as well. They're a Canadian-based supplement company that I've used, like their sports performance mixes, some of their proteins for years and years, and I would stand by them no matter what. If you guys need some of that stuff, head over to biosteel.ca. Throw in the promo code CFT25 for a 25% discount on your shopping carts. Back to you, Chad.
Thanks, guys. The actual developer of the BioSteel products is a great friend of mine. He used to work for the Toronto Maple Leafs when I was doing consulting work with the Canucks. So his name is Matt Nickel. He's an absolute genius when it comes to nutrition, and he's built a world-class product here that they continued to upgrade and modify a little bit and add different products to their product line. The BioSteel is my go-to, and I kid you not when I say this. I'm going for a workout after this, and BioSteel is loaded into my cup. It's literally the only electrolyte amino acid complex that I've ever used, and significantly reduced the amount of hamstring cramps I get at night. I'm not gonna lie. So probably just old age. Cam's laughing as he's probably thinking this is an old age problem. But anyway, appreciate you guys being here. Awesome way to start my Saturday. I hope you guys feel the same way about it. Please pass these links along. These are open links. Pass them on to all your friends. Sharing is caring. Enjoy National Health and Fitness Day. I'm about to make my way off to my Club 16. Innovative Fitness is where I work, but sometimes I do my personal workouts, Club 16. So shout out to those guys for getting the doors open. Shout out for Innovative Fitness for getting your doors open. We're back and we're working in the fitness industry on the West Coast. A lot of you guys on the East Coast and throughout the rest of the world are still in the pandemic and still under forced closure. So I'm really empathetic to everything that's going on. Appreciate your time. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and hopefully I will see you registered for the conference next week, and the link is in that previous slide. So have a great day. Take care.